Sweet. Awesome. All right. Um, Quick question. I know I sent Tyler a couple poll questions. I don't know if you guys had a chance to get those or not, but
I can launch it right now if you want me to.
okay. Well, no worries. Okay, that's fine. I'll just ask the group. So two questions, if you guys can put it in the chat. Oh, here we go. Oh, sweet. All right. So we got two polls up. If you guys can answer those questions real quick, just so I have some idea of where you guys are at. All right, thanks for filling that out. Looks like a couple folks have redeemed credit card points for travel. Most have not. One person has transferred points to a hotel airline partner, so that person probably knows a lot of what we're going to talk about, or possibly. But most have not. Awesome. Okay, well, thank you guys for filling that out. I'm going to hit the share results button so you guys can see the results. Cool. And then I'm going to hit stop sharing. Awesome. All right. Well, hopefully, everybody is interested in learning a little bit more about how to travel for free and utilize your credit card points better. And let me just get this one chat box situated. I have the chat box also in front of me. So as I'm going, if you have questions, feel free to pop them in there and I'll try to answer them best I can while also kind of sharing what's on the slides. But before we get started, in the chat box, if you don't mind, what's like a dream trip you have that would just be freaking amazing if you could go on it? Maybe it's a little bit out of budget, or maybe it's you just haven't figured out how to do it yet. But if you could, and to go anywhere or do anything, like go on safari or go stay in some crazy hotel or wherever, where do you want to go? Okay, we got New York City, we got the Maldives, African safari, awesome. I did that in 2017. That was freaking amazing. 3 week trip to Europe, awesome. Greece, Switzerland, Japan, eat some good sushi, 100%. Yep, that'd be awesome. All right. So we're going to try to make some of this stuff come true um, by learning travel hacking. And so a little bit about myself. So thank you guys for sharing where you guys want to travel. And here's a little bit about me. So I've been learning about travel hacking since 2017 when a friend of mine happened to see that I like to travel and they pinged me on Facebook Messenger and they're like, "Hey, have you learned about travel hacking?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" And they kind of explained it to me and I was like, "Oh, yeah, I want to learn how to do this. This is cool." And since then, I've been pretty addicted and have been, my friends would say I'm very addicted to this. And I uh, often read blogs and keep up with the latest and what's going on in the credit card world and the airline world and all that stuff. So, been doing this for a few years, following it closely. I've traveled with my wife to 31 different countries. Currently live in Seattle, so if anyone, most of you guys are in the OC, right? I think since you guys are the OC group. So, if you guys come up to the Northwest, let me know. I'm from Ohio. Any Ohio folks in the group? If so, ping the chat. Married to my wife, Sandy. I have a 16-month-old who just finished her swim lesson, so I was running a little late to this meeting. Um, I think I'm a mechanical engineer. I haven't actually used my mechanical engineering degree in a very, very long time, but just sharing since this is the civil engineering group. And then I'm currently in a bit of a transition. I'm working on starting up a few things. I actually just recently left corporate for the second time. I was recently at Kajabi, which some of you guys, since you guys know in OC, probably have driven by the building right off the highway and seen the sign before. And that's actually how I got connected to this group because one of my former coworkers is the wife of Tyler and connected us because I used to share all sorts of travel tips and stuff in one of our Kajabi Slack channels. And yeah, and one of the many things that I'll be working on is actually launching the Points Academy in early 2024. And so I actually want to teach people about credit card points and all that stuff. So this is perfect to kind of share a little bit about my passion and give you guys a teaser of what might be coming in the new year. So, kind of the goal of today, I just want to give a glimpse of what's possible. This world of travel hacking is actually There's many layers to it. It can get pretty deep, depending on like what your goals are and what you're trying to do with it. Um, I can't cover that in 30, 40 minutes today, an hour at the most. And so I think the goal of today is just to give you guys a little bit of a glimpse, a little teaser of what's possible, and maybe get you guys excited to dive into it a little bit more, about how it works. So I'm just going to give you a high level of how this all works, talk about some key principles so that when you do, if this is something that you're interested in, if you do decide to do some more research and look into the space a little bit more, that you at least have some general ideas or some key principles, to be looking out for so you're not starting from scratch. And then I'll share some resources at the end of, where to learn more, if that is something that you end up wanting to do. So, um, who wants to travel more often and who wants to travel in luxury? Hopefully that, if you guys want to write yes, you guys can write no too, I guess, in the chat. But if either of these questions is a yes, then, hopefully I can, help this come true. Yeah, I got some 100%. Perfect. Awesome. So, what is travel hacking? Basically, this is kind of my definition. I don't know, there may be other definitions out there, but as I was thinking about this presentation, the way I guess I'm defining travel hacking is enabling your dream trips for free via using points and miles. Okay, so, it's to make the trips that you didn't think were possible because of budget or, because of, mainly because of budget, actually. Let's make it happen. And so, the focus of travel hacking is kind of twofold. One is to increase the number of trips you can have. Not only travels a lot, but pays full price. There you go. The focus is on either increasing the number of trips you can take or to enable luxury trips, that you might not have ever paid for using cash. And so, there's kind of these two objectives as you're thinking about travel hacking. And so, for that second one on like luxurious trips, what does that even look like? What does that even mean? So that could mean flying first class or business class on international trips. So if you have traveled internationally on, those bigger airplanes, they call them wide body airplanes, and you walk by those seats that look like suites or pods, and people are lying flat, and you're like, who the heck is affording this? And or you might have seen some your friends on Instagram posting that they're sitting in business class, and you might be wondering how the heck are they paying for that? Very well might be that they're travel hacking. There are people paying for it, and a lot of companies pay for that if you are traveling for business. But a lot of people are doing leisure travel or doing it because they're travel hacking, or even staying in nice hotels. So, like, I'll share an example later for Maui, but like Maui is one of the most expensive places in the world to go vacation. I've been able to go a couple times now in recent years and travel for free and stay in nice hotels in Maui because of this hobby. So, that's kind of why people get into this and what it's all about to begin with. Here's a photo of me just, a couple years ago flying Delta One, in their business class. We took a trip over to Japan from Seattle. So I just want to give a high level example of how this works, and then I'll break it down in later slides. This is going to be a little bit, complicated initially, but I just want to give you some idea, initially of how the heck and what this is and what I mean by this travel hacking thing. So I was recently looking for a ticket, for my mom to go back to Taiwan. My family's from Taiwan, and, she's based in Los Angeles. And so I found a ticket. You'll see here in the top right, that blue, image. LAX to TPE, which is Taipei Airport, direct flight. It's on China Airlines. You see underneath here, China Airlines flight CI 2007 for 93,500 miles and $123 of cash. Okay, I'm going to ignore the cash for now for simplicity. So we're just going to look at that 93,500 miles. You'll look at the image below, and the same exact flight, Saturday, October 28th, Los Angeles to Taipei. This flight is $2,729.20. I would not pay $2,729 for a one-way business class flight. I don't know about you guys, but I don't have that type of money to, be balling out and paying for that. But, I would gladly spend 93,500 miles, via credit card points to redeem that same flight. And you could get 93,500 miles just by opening one credit card. And so that's, what we did for my mom's flight. We redeemed some of her Chase points. We transferred them from Chase to Air France to then book on China Airlines. And you might be like, what the heck? Like Chase to Air France to China Airlines? What are you talking about? Like, that's three different things. We'll get into that and we'll talk about what that all means. But we were able to turn the 93,000 miles into over $2,700 worth of airline plane ticket. And that basically means that we got 2.9 cents per mile of value out of our points. Okay, so that's an important concept. I will break it down a little bit later, but that's an important concept to kind of remember or to realize is we're trying to maximize the points that you do have and get additional value, additional leverage out of your points. And you might be wondering, how does this all work? Like all of the major banks have transfer airline and hotel partners. So Chase, Amex, Citi, Capital One, they all have partners. You just have to, Google it afterwards. Chase, transfer partners, and I'll show some examples here later in the slides. But you can transfer your miles out to these airline partners and hotel partners to then book the flights. So again, I'll break this down. This was a lot, but I just wanted to show you a little bit how we took some Chase credit card points, transferred to a partner for 90,000 miles. We're able to book a almost $3,000 plane ticket. So my mom's sitting in luxury flying back to Taiwan. Okay, sleeping in a lie flat bed seat. So what are some of the goals of travel hacking? So it is to achieve additional leverage, additional value out of your points by transferring to an airline or hotel partner instead of redeeming your credit card points for cash or using them in the travel portals. You want to also accelerate your point earning, and there's a few ways to do that. So that sign up bonuses you guys may have seen sometimes, 100,000 miles or points if you open this credit card, or 50,000 miles or points if you open that credit card. Don't be afraid to open the credit cards. I'll get into a little bit of the logistics and the tactics around that, but don't be afraid. I have a whole booklet of credit cards. My credit score has never been better. And it's also about maximizing each dollar you spend. You never want to earn just 1 point per dollar of your spending. So I'll show you a little bit how that works, but you never just want to get 1 point per dollar. And you want to focus on transferable points. So points from Chase or Amex instead of points from an airline or hotel specific credit card. Of course, there's nuances to that. Maybe if you travel a ton, you're a consultant and you stay at Marriott's all the time, maybe it makes more sense to get a Marriott credit card in that case. But I would say generally speaking, you want to stay away from airline and hotel specific credit card points, and you want to earn transferable points. So Chase, Amex, Capital One, Citi. And we'll get into a little bit of what that means. Here on the right, this photo is I flew Japan Airlines business class, and this was my appetizer. So, while other people are in the back, eating basic food, Japan Airlines was serving me this delicious food that I booked using points for free. So what does it mean, like additional leverage using your points? What am I talking about? Cashback credit cards often have a set amount of earning potential. You may have heard like the Chase Freedom Unlimited, 1.5% back on everything, or Venture Card, 2% back on everything. Those are great. But there's no like additional leverage when they're just used as is, or if you redeem it for cash. Okay. In contrast, when you actually use your points for travel, and if you have the right credit cards that allow you to do the transferring and or use some travel portals, etc., you can get additional value out of your points. So you're not stuck at that 1.5, you're not stuck at that 2. And so at a basic level, this is not that example I'm about to give is not the way to maximize your points, but just from a basic example of how do you get additional leverage. So there was a really popular credit card that launched 7-8 years ago called the Chase Sapphire Reserve Card. And one of the perks that they give you is you get 50% more points if you use the points and book travel through their Chase travel portal. So just to, again, show the example of how you can get additional value out of your points, they give you 3 times points on dining. You get 50% bonus if you redeem it for travel through the travel portal. That means you're getting 4.5 cents or 4.5x. A lot of times cents and X and points and whatever, they're all kind of used interchangeably, but essentially 1 point is 1 cent. And so you're getting 4.5 cents for every dollar that you spend. You also get 1 point on everything else. Again, 50% bonus means you're getting 1.5. So you get additional leverage versus like a cashback credit card that is stuck at that 1.5% earning or 2% earning or whatever. So you don't get the additional leverage. Now, what is it? I gave you like a basic example. Now, what is a more advanced example? In that example I shared earlier about the China Airlines from the plane ticket I got from my mom, we transferred the points and we got 2.9 cents additional value out of our points. So using that same example of the Chase Sapphire Reserve card, where if we would have earned, let's say, the majority of our points eating out because we eat out a lot and we get 3 times that points dining, I would have gotten 3 times dining times 2.9% additional value, 2.9 cents per point additional value, which means I almost got 9 cents per dollar spent, which is awesome, and I'm really happy about. So whereas the person who is happy getting 1.5% cash back, great, I'm getting 9% cash back essentially because I'm going to maximize my earning on my points, and then I'm going to maximize my points themselves. And so that's basically at a high level kind of what we're trying to do with travel hacking and how we can get additional leverage out of our points, additional value out of our points. Okay. I'll give you an example. I've talked about like plane tickets and business class plane tickets, et cetera. I'll give you an example of hotels. Back in 2021, I went to Maui, stayed at a Hyatt hotel called the Andaz, super fancy hotel. I redeemed 60,000 points a night for a room that was worth over $3,000 a night. There's no way I'm paying over $3,000 a night for a hotel. But basically went to the Hyatt website. I have a loyalty program membership with them. Logged in and found redemption for 60,000 points and was able to book a $3,000 room per night, which meant I got 5.5 cents per point value. And if you, again, using the example that we've been talking about, if I were to have earned majority of those points by eating out, getting 3x points initially and now getting 5.5 cents per point on the back end, now I'm getting over 16x value per dollar out of my cents per dollar out of my spending. So that's like freaking amazing, right? I'm getting so much value out of my points. So these are, again, just to illustrate some examples. People, 5 cents per value is pretty good. There's people out there that are getting 10, 15, if you happen to get the right redemption. There's people that are even blowing that out of the water and getting even more value, okay? So why does this work? How does this work? Or why does this happen? Airlines and hotels, they don't tie their points to the cash price. So they they may, right? I'm making general statements, but they don't always. And so what that means is as an airline increases their price or as they set the price for the really expensive business class flight or first class flight, or a hotel sets their price for the room, the points price and the hotel price don't always correlate. Sometimes they do, but they don't always. And so you're able to get that additional leverage, additional value out of your points. The more expensive the airplane ticket or the room, the more value you can potentially get out of the points because it's kind of arbitrary because it completely depends on what the airline or the hotel sets as the price to begin with. Okay. So hopefully that makes sense. What about economy flights? So I've been talking a lot about business class. What about economy? If you just want to travel more, the same principles hold true. So everything I'm going to share or have shared still hold true. The only caveat here is that sometimes you can get more value or equal value if you book the flight through the bank's travel portal if the airline gives you, or sorry, if the bank gives you like a bonus. So like the Chase Sapphire Reserve card, they give you a 50% bonus if you use their travel portal to book flights. So essentially you're getting 1.5 cents of value when you redeem your points. Sometimes that's better than what you'll get for economy flights, only because economy flights sometimes aren't that expensive to begin with. And then therefore, there's not the opportunity to get that additional value. Okay. So the key is to always check the cash price and the points price and calculate the cents per point to then figure out which route of booking is better. Okay. And to calculate cents per point, you literally take your dollars, so like $500, convert that to cents. So $500 would be 50,000 cents. and then take the cents divided by the points, and then you get cents per point. You can calculate, am I getting more than 1.5? Am I getting less than 1.5, etc. If that's confusing to calculate that, just remember, everyone here is a civil engineer. You guys took chemistry. We used to have to calculate like moles over this, like atoms over whatever, molecules over whatever, I forget. But like, you have to change all the units and whatever. It's basically just cents per point, right? So convert the dollars to cents and then divide it by points. So always just double check what the cash price is versus the points price. So hopefully this has piqued your interest, and it's something that, just sharing these examples is something that now is something that you want to learn a little bit more about, or dive a little bit deeper. So how do you earn points quickly? It's probably one of the next questions, right? You're like, I'm in now, I don't have any points. How do I earn points quickly? Credit cards have sign-up bonuses, 50,000 or 60,000, 50,000 is very common, sometimes even up to 150,000. The Amex Platinum business card, I think is running 150,000 sign-up bonus right now. Actually, it just has a mailer that they sent me the other day. And so you just have, you have to hit the minimum spend, right? So you have to spend a certain amount of money. But just for example, a business class plane ticket from the US to Europe is around 60 to 80,000. So if you open one of those credit cards, you're already well on your way to having a business class flight. You open a couple of those a year, and your round trip tickets taken care of. And a tip is, when you have a big purchase coming up, that's a great time to open a new credit card. So a lot of times it'll be like, oh, you get 60,000 points if you spend $3,000 in 3 months, or $5,000 in 3 months. Well, if you have a big bill coming up, you're getting a new water heater, getting new air conditioning, or got to pay for the kids' braces, or whatever the heck. A lot of times, like with one swipe of the credit card, you could already have earned your sign-up bonus, and you can put the credit card away and worry about it, what to do with it later on. But you get that bonus, and it's a good way to feel better about having big bills to pay. So keep that in mind next time you have a big bill coming up. Separately, the other couple ways to earn points quickly is a combination of using a combination of credit cards within a bank's ecosystem, and we'll talk about what that means, and also using shopping portals. I'll also chat a little bit about that. Yeah, there you go. Use credit cards for the next happy hour. Go all out. You spend that budget that you guys reviewed earlier. So credit card ecosystems. What the heck does this mean, and what am I talking about? There's often the question, like, what is the best credit card? It's a legit question, but I often think it's the wrong question. I think the right question is actually, what credit card ecosystem is the best, or which one should I join? And what that means is basically you want to, like, each credit card within a bank has different skills, or is like better at earning for different things. It's like, each team, your executive team for your organization, right? Everyone's got different skill sets. It's kind of that same mindset when it comes to credit cards. So as an example, I put it here in this chart. The Sapphire Reserve, you get 3x on dining, whereas the Chase, these are all Chase cards. The Chase Freedom Flex gives you 5x on rotating quarterly categories. And so sometimes it's Amazon, sometimes it's gas, sometimes it's grocery, but you get 5x there. And then the Freedom Unlimited gives you 1.5 everything, right? You'll notice I said early in the presentation, never just earn 1 point per dollar. Well, in this example, in this chart, I'm at least earning 1.5 points for anything I spend, okay? The points can then later on be combined. So when you log into Chase, let's say I own all 3 of these credit cards, when you log in later, there will be a place for you that says combine your points, and you can combine all your points. So you're earning 3x on dining, you're earning 5x on Amazon when that's the category, and you're earning 1.5 on everything else, like going to the grocery store or whatever. And so you're never only earning 1. So all of a sudden, you're quickly accumulating points. And just to give you an example, I'm at the last bullet on my slide, where it says 50% less points if you're only using 1 card. So let's say you only have the Sapphire Reserve card. You're earning 3x on dining, but you're only earning 1% or 1x on everything else, right? You're earning 50% less than if you would have had a Freedom Unlimited that earns 1.5. And so having that kind of combination, that ecosystem of cards, yes, it takes a little bit more work. You got to think a little bit in terms of like what card to get. But once you're like got the hang of this, like I don't even think, like I know exactly what to swipe when I'm buying, whatever I'm buying. So there's other people, as they get into this, they'll get a label maker. and they'll like label their credit cards like, oh, use this one to pay for a cell phone bill, use this one to pay for groceries or whatever. So people find ways to adopt and remember. But uh, basically, you want to try to optimize your spending. You don't have to go too crazy. Literally, between 2 and 3 credit cards will cover everything you need. And so it's not, it doesn't need to be overly complex. But I just want to share an example of what an ecosystem looks like. So this is the Chase ecosystem. Amex has kind of their equivalent between the gold card and the platinum. And if you get into business cards, there's some other business cards that play nice with those. Capital One and C have a little bit of an ecosystem, not quite as much, but they still have it to some extent. Um, Lastly, to quickly earn points, has anyone ever used the shopping portal? Feel free to say yes in the chat if you have, or if you know what I'm even talking about. Awesome, Giovanni has. Um, Shopping portals are your best friend. Don't forget to use them. Don't miss out on them. Awesome, everyone's using, or a bunch of people are using them. Awesome. Join the party if you're not. And so Tyler, is that Tyler? Who's that one? ASCE, You need to be you joining the party. So basically, all the credit cards and airlines, they all have shopping portals. Basically, what that means is you log into their shopping portal, you log into the bank, you click the button that says shop, and then it'll show you these types of additional cash back that you earn. So in this example, I have here in the top right, like Nike, time to buy some new shoes, 12% extra cash back. It's extra that you're just missing out on by literally like not clicking the button. Like all you have to do is click on a button, it'll open up Nike's page, and then once you finish your purchase, you get 12% cash back as points if you're going through your credit card company, or through Rakuten, which is actually these screenshots that I have here on the right. It's either cash back, or if you have an Amex, you can actually get it as Amex points. So if you have an Amex card tied to your Rakuten and go shopping. The other tip with these, if you haven't done it, is they all have Chrome plugins. And so actually, when you go to Nike.com, you don't actually even need to remember to shop through the portal. They'll just have a thing that pops up automatically, like this bottom screenshot here in the bottom right. I went to Nike, and this thing just pops up and says activate 12% cash back. Okay, let me hit the button, and then bam, I'm done. It'll just refresh the page, and now I'm going to earn 12% with my purchase. You'll see here in the bottom lifetime earnings. I've earned almost 140,000 membership rewards points, so Amex points, by shopping through Rakuten over the past few years. So that's enough for like round trip business class to Europe, just shopping how I would have normally shopped, but now just hitting an extra button, right? And so this is something pretty simple to implement and quickly accelerate your points earning. Okay. For those who haven't done this and want to get started, how do you get started? The general rule of thumb: start with Chase, get a Sapphire card, whether you want the preferred or reserve. There's two of them. You can kind of read the differences. One has a bigger annual fee, one has less. The big annual fee comes with more perks. And then get a Freedom Unlimited card. Between the two of those, you're never earning just 1 point. You're at least earning 1.5. And between the two of those, you've unlocked being able to transfer Chase points to credit card partner or to airline partners. And it's a pretty simple ecosystem to use and friendly. And there's also this, you'll hear, once you start like doing research into the space, you'll hear this 524 rule. Chase is well known for it, and they're the only ones that have it. Basically, you can only open up 5 credit cards in the past 24 years, or sorry, 24 months. So the past 2 years across any credit card or most credit cards. There are exceptions. But what that essentially means is, let's say today you're like, oh yeah, I'm all in about this. Let me go open the Delta card and the Marriott card and American Express and a Capital One and a Citi. I opened 5 in the past in the upcoming 24 months. Well, now you're locked out of Chase, and you can't open any Chase cards moving forward. So they're the most restrictive when it comes to that, which is why within the travel hacking community, everyone generally says start with Chase and get their cards first, then go work on the other ones because the other banks don't have the restriction. If you really, really only want one card and you don't want to worry about multiple cards, then the Capital One Venture X card's not bad. The annual fee, it is a premium credit card. It does have like a 350 or 395 annual fee, but it's less than the other guys, and maybe it's a little bit simpler to not have to think about too many cards. But I would recommend to start with Chase, and it's not that much work to get a Sapphire and a Freedom Unlimited and just use it too. So that's what I would recommend to get started. So your next question might be annual fees. Like you're gonna go look at the Sapphire Reserve card, and I think it's like a 550 or 595 annual fee. I forget what it is now. And you're gonna be like, what the heck? Why am I paying this? David, you're smoking crack. That's a lot of money. Um, so there's essentially two tiers of credit cards. There's your premium ones that allow you to transfer points to the airline partners, and then there's the free ones. The Chase, or there's a lower tier, and generally they're free. The Freedom Unlimited is free. The Freedom Flex is free. Um, those do not allow you to transfer the points to the credit card or to the airline and hotel partners. And so you need to have the Sapphire card, the more expensive card, the Sapphire card in the Chase instance, or the Venture or Venture X card, the Venture One and the Venture X card in the Capital One case, etc. You need the more premium ones to allow you to do these transfers. But even with a $400, $500, $600 annual fee, if you just do this once a year, do this business class thing, you're vastly gaining more value than just the $400, $500 that you're paying because now you're getting, a multi-thousand-dollar plane ticket. There's also separately the premium credit cards come with all sorts of benefits: airport lounge access, credits to Uber Eats, DoorDash, travel credits, rental car insurance, cell phone protection insurance, like trip delay. If you get delayed for 6 hours, they'll pay $500 towards like hotel and clothes and food and all that stuff. So there's all sorts of like perks that come with that hefty annual fee. So that's just something to be aware of. And for me personally, I found it to be more than worthwhile to go ahead and pay these annual fees. I mentioned travel partners, transfer partners. Each of the banks have them. So you can kind of Google within the bank that you bank with what transfer partners your bank has. Here on the right, I'm just showing you what Chase's partners are. So Aer Lingus, I think, is an Irish airline. Air Canada, Air France, KLM. So it's Air France is France, KLM is the Netherlands. They're a joint venture, joint airlines. British Airways, Emirates, Iberia, JetBlue, Singapore, Southwest, United, Virgin. So you see a whole bunch of different airlines that you can transfer your points to. And they also partner with 3 hotels, so IHG, Marriott, and World of Hyatt. Okay. Now, where things get a little bit interesting is if you guys recall, like whenever you do fly, sometimes you'll hear about like, oh, One World partner or SkyTeam partner or Star Alliance. So the airlines are part of alliances. There's 3 major ones. And what happens is that when an airline within an alliance has extra tickets that they want to move or sell or fill up, or they, for whatever reason, are feeling good about opening up some extra tickets, they will open it up to the entire alliance to book. And so what that means is United, which is a Star Alliance partner, United down here on the bottom left of the Star Alliance column, using United miles, you can book any of these Star Alliance partners as long as these Star Alliance partners have opened up tickets. What's called saver tickets a lot of times, it's like the saver level of award. Award tickets is like when you book a point ticket, ticket with points. So whenever ANA, so that's a Japanese airline, or EVA, which is Taiwan airline, or South African Airways, they open up their saver level tickets to the alliance, then you can book those with United. So if I go back a slide, you'll notice again that Chase has United as a partner. So in theory, I can use Chase, transfer it to United, and then go book a flight on any of these Star Alliance airlines. So even if United doesn't fly to, let's say United doesn't fly to Vietnam, or I'm heading to Vietnam over Christmas. They don't fly to Vietnam. That's not a problem because Thai Airways does, EVA Airways does, ANA does, Singapore Airlines does. And so in theory, if any of those airlines has Sabre tickets available, I can book it on United using my Chase points that I transfer over. Okay. So ping the chat if that doesn't make sense. I know that's a little bit complicated, and I'm happy to dive in a little deeper if there's questions around it. But I just at least want to touch on that because that's also an important concept. in this travel hacking world. So airport airline alliances, and you can just Google, airline alliances, and start studying a little bit how this works. You'll notice that each of the big U.S. airlines, so United is part of Star Alliance, American's part of One World, and Delta is part of SkyTeam. So each of the big U.S. airlines is all part of one of the alliances. Okay. Um, again, just to show an example, let's say you want to go to Singapore. United is a partner of Chase. United is a Star Alliance member. And here in this image on the right, so this is a screenshot taken from United's website. You'll see here in the red box that it says includes travel operated by Singapore Airlines. So I would be booking this ticket from United, but flying on Singapore Airlines, right? Because they're alliance partners and Singapore has made their seats available to United point redemptions as part of this itinerary. And so I just want to show a little bit. So sometimes if you go redeem a flight using points, you'll see things like this where you're booking through one airline, but it's being operated by another because of the alliances. Okay. Okay, so I mentioned a little bit earlier, you want to get transferable points over airline and hotel specific points. I don't know if anyone wants to share. If you do have some airline or hotel specific credit cards in the chat, feel free, but if not, no worries. You generally speaking don't want to focus on gathering, let's say, Delta specific points or Marriott specific points, because inevitably all airlines and hotels will devalue their points every few years. And when they devalue it, what that means is they'll start charging more. So 100,000 miles or 100,000 miles of points today might get you round trip, somewhere where they might charge you 120 next year or 140 next year. Then sometimes they do make big jumps, like 20% increases in the cost, therefore devaluing their points. And so airlines and hotels, they do that. Or they could change how much they want to charge for a given route or flying between certain continents, etc. So what you don't want to do is get stuck with only one airline's points, and then they decide to increase their price by 50% and change, the cost between the US to Europe, and all of a sudden, bam, you're paying like 5x the cost, and you're stuck with those points and they're not worth anything anymore. So that's why you want to use the transferable ones, because even if, let's say, Delta changes how they do it, that's okay. I mean, it's not great, but you can still transfer the points over to Air France or something, and maybe their points haven't changed as drastically at all, and maybe the flight price isn't so bad still. So that's why it's better to earn points that are transferable. So Chase, Amex, Citi, Capital One. And just to illustrate this a little bit more, in the photos that I have here. So on the left, this is again that LAX to Taipei flight that I booked for my mom, 93,500 miles. On the right here is the same exact flight that China Airlines, LA to Taipei, same day, same flight, same everything, but searching through Delta. Delta wants 310,000 miles compared to Air France wanting 93,000. So Delta, for the same exact flight, wants over 3 times the cost. Delta, if anyone is collecting Delta miles, this might be painful to hear, but the joke in the travel world for Delta is instead of Sky Miles, it's called Sky Pesos, because their miles oftentimes aren't worth that much, especially when it comes to international business class type flights. For domestic flights, they often have like cheap deals, like 5,000 points, or miles one way within the US, whatever, and those are fine. But when it comes to like the more expensive redemptions, Delta has lost a lot of value in their points. So just to illustrate, the same flight, depending on who you book through, can cost drastically different points. Therefore, you want as much flexibility as possible. Therefore, the transferable points are more favorable than earning airline or hotel specific points. Okay. All right, to kind of wrap things up a little bit, some watch outs. So not all points are created equal. So, let's say after this talk, you're super inspired. You're like, oh, heck, let me go open some credit cards tonight. You get some ad for some huge, like 180,000 IHG hotel. They own like Holiday Inn and Intercontinental stuff, like some huge offer, 180,000 points. You're like, oh, bam, that's awesome. 180 is a huge number. Let me go sign up. 180,000 hotel points is not equal to 100, or is not equal to 90, or let me rephrase. all points are not created equal. 180,000 hotel points could be way less than 90,000 chase points. Okay. And so like there's I mentioned at the beginning, there's levels to this and there's understanding how much points are worth. Like, so don't just look for the biggest number. If you want, you can type in the points guy monthly valuations. And the points guy is a very popular blog. And he will, or his team, his company at this point, the team will write out what they believe the points are worth. So every single hotel and airline program, they'll write out how much they think the points are worth. And you'll see, IHG points are worth 0.6 cents per point, whereas Chase points are worth two. And so Chase points are worth 3x the amount that IHG are worth, even though it looks like, IHG is giving you a ton of hotel points right off the bat if you sign up for the credit card. Okay. So I just want to make that caveat. Don't just go randomly open credit cards just because there's a big sign up bonus. Only do this hobby if you're paying off your credit card in full. Don't do this hobby if you're carrying debt because the 20% interest you're going to pay on the debt is way more expensive than the 3x credit card points you're going to earn. A common question: won't opening credit cards hurt my credit score? The answer is no. Um, there's nuance to this. Credit card score is comprised of numerous factors, one of which is the average life of your credit cards, and the other is your utilization score. Utilization is how much of your available credit do you spend in a given month on average. So let's say on average you spend $5,000 and you have between all your credit cards $50,000 of credit line. 5,000 divided by 50,000 is 10%. So you have a 10% utilization score. The reason opening new credit cards doesn't generally hurt your credit score is so it does hurt your average life of your credit history a bit because as you open more credit cards, the average life of those credit cards is lower, so it'll lower your overall arching average life of your credit history. But that's generally offset because when you open new credit cards, you usually get additional credit line. And therefore, even if you're still spending the same $5,000, your utilization score will go down because now you're adding additional credit line. And so your utilization percentage goes down. Okay. And so that offsets, and therefore, I don't know, don't quote me on like it's not. I don't know. It's a one-to-one offset or whatever, but they do help balance each other out. And yeah, my credit score is like over 800, and I've opened credit cards all the time. Um, the only caveat to all of this is if you do plan on getting a mortgage soon, you're buying a house, then maybe hold off on opening your credit cards just in case that somehow plays a role when you do check when the bank does do some check and they see all this new revolving credit and all that stuff. Like maybe it plays a role. I just don't want to tell you to do all this and then hurt your potential mortgage because that could affect things greatly given mortgages work. And then separately, I'm not going to get into this in this call, but there are tactics for canceling credit cards and closing credit cards, all that stuff. So never close your oldest credit card. If your oldest credit card does have an annual fee, generally speaking, every credit card that has an annual fee has a free version. So you can just downgrade it to the free version. And downgrading is your best friend when it comes to time to get rid of credit cards. If you're opening up a bunch of credit cards and they all have annual fees, and the year passes and now you don't want to pay those annual fees anymore because you're not getting a sign up bonus anymore. A lot of times, one of the strategies is just to call and downgrade it to one of the free cards that the company offers. So, all right. So, some resources. I promised you guys some resources. So, I have a QR code up here. If you guys want to join my newsletter that I've yet to start, but I will be starting, feel free. You can scan this, and you'll be part of my newsletter in the new year. There's a Facebook group called Award Travel 101. I have found that very helpful. It helped me on my journey. And so I would join that. And then some popular blogs. The Points Guy I mentioned before, 1 mile at a time, does a lot of aviation news and credit card news. And so I enjoy reading articles from Ben, who owns 1 mile at a time. So Um, I think that's all I got for you guys. Let me see. Yep, that's all I got. So, I'm happy to stick around for a couple minutes if there's